I'll just, we can start. Tom will be our public delegation. Tom, do you want to say anything in intro here?
No, I'm really excited about the Sustainable Connecticut process that's going on behalf of the pollinator pathway.
Okay, we'll get to that later.
So, yeah, I'm just excited about that. That's it.
Okay. All right. Does anybody want to discuss the minutes? Is there any questions about that? The minutes from the last meeting? No comments?
I move we accept the minutes as written.
Second.
Okay.
I unmuted it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, Ray, you're in. You're the second public delegation. Okay, I left the review of the updates to the POCD on the agenda. Art, if you want to comment on that at all?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Okay,
you.
good. Yes, I've had several meetings with Gary. I want to set up a meeting with him. It's been taking forever. As far as I know, they're incorporating our stuff, but I can't tell you exactly how well and how much they've incorporated. I've tried for a month to get some answers, and I haven't got them yet. I have no question that we're going to
Can you
include it.
talk
I just don't know
directly with the people? Yeah, can you talk directly with the people who are doing the POCD rather than Gary? Would that be easier?
Well, that's the next thing I wanted to do. I'm going to have to do because it's not working going through his office. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the woman who's kind
Michelle
of.
Williams.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Michelle, I will talk with her because this is going very slow.
Yeah,
Well, that's more direct.
she'll get things done. And I got to thinking about the POCD, and I think one thing we ought to suggest is that a 3-acre zone be incorporated into the Powers Lake land as well as the Stones Ranch land. They both are headwaters for the aquifer, and they're essentially, either under federal control or Yale University control, but that doesn't mean that they can't be developed at some point. So, as a matter of fact, I heard talk about doing a development, an industrial park development in the future at the Gates property, the prison property. So it seems to me that that would be a good recommendation for us to include in our POCD. I don't think we've talked about it briefly at other meetings, but I don't even know that we've mentioned it this year. But a 3-acre zone would seem to be a wise idea to do in those areas, just a suggestion. All right, that's it from me.
Anybody else have any comments?
Yeah, I took 2 days this week and reviewed it because the Nyack River Watershed Committee is going to send in comments, and I had 4 pages of comments, 44 items. I don't know, Judy Rondo, I believe, will have some other things, but I don't know if anybody else on our commission will. Don Landers will provide, but it'll be through the Harbor Management, which he represents on the Nyack River Committee. I think I ought to report to this group that I found at least 2 places where I think our water report should have been used as a reference, and I asked that to be added in. So, I mean, all the work we put on that. So,
Sure.
and that's all I have to say about it.
Yeah, well, the Sustainable Connecticut comments were already put in, geez, almost a year ago now. So that's all done as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, Ron, go.
I just, being bored, I was surfing on TV the other day, and I came across the East Lyme channel, and it looked like a selectman meeting reviewing the POCD. Is it there already?
No. Certain parts might be draft discussions, but not to my knowledge. Art, do you know anything about that?
No, I haven't heard anything about that.
I do know. I have Michelle's email. Let me just look at it, and I can speak to you about it. Michelle's email said that the draft has been completed and submitted to the Board of Selectmen for their review. The Board of Selectmen will be conducting a public hearing to solicit further public comment on a document during a special meeting on Wednesday, which already happened, September 30th. The Planning Commission will also hold a public meeting on the document that is slated for Tuesday, November 10th during the regular meeting. Zoom info, etc. to come. Following the public hearing, the Planning Commission will vote on whether to adopt the plan. They ask that any feedback on this process be submitted prior to the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Plan of Conservation Development Subcommittee on October 7th. But I found out from her that they'll take comments through early November, but I would hasten to get them in. I'm going to try to get ours in. We are going to wait for our November meeting on November 5th, but I think that might be too late to get stuff incorporated. So I want to get our the watershed committee stuff in soon. So I would suggest that if anybody has anything, you get it into Michelle, and Michelle would be the person. Get it soon.
Yeah, if the selectmen are already looking at a draft, not that they wouldn't see another draft, but you want to get things in front of them sooner rather than later.
Right.
Well, what do people think about that idea for 3-acre zoning in those areas? It's really not impacting any developments or anything at the moment, but I'm thinking 5 or 10 years down the road, if Yale ever wanted to sell some land, or the state of Connecticut was in dire straits and got rid of the Army base, we would be impacted. Those are our substantial areas in the watershed that are undeveloped and should remain at a low level of development. Years ago, they talked about northern East Lyme being 3 to 4 acre zoning, and it hasn't made it there. It's 2 acres. But I think this would be, there are 3-acre zones in town up on Oswegatchie, but I think this would be a good recommendation. What do the rest of you think?
Would the recommendation have to be specific? I mean, do we have time to be exact where these areas would begin and end and that sort of thing?
I think we can be, it's kind of a general idea. So I think if we say areas along the 4-mile river watershed and around Powers Lake and the Patagonia watershed, north of the Patagonia Road, and west of Scott Road, be zone 3 acres.
Can we
I
wrap something up?
I mean, we're picking that number out of a hat. Yale has 1,800 acres. The prison has, I don't know, 300 or 400 acres.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't talking about the prison.
Simply say the rationale is we don't think these should be developed in any way, shape, or form by the state, period. And
well, that's fine, but that won't do anything. Then I'm happy if we say increase the zoning from 1 acre to something more substantial. We do have a 3-acre zone in town. That's the biggest zone. 2 acres is what most of the north end is.
Farm acreage or something along those lines.
Well, I don't.
We're going to try to protect the amount of, we're trying to protect that land. We want the fewest number of buildings per acre, if you will. Why stop at 3? Let's go to 25 to make the point that this is a very vital resource we're protecting.
Well, I think 25 is out of the box, and that'll never see the light of day. But actually, in the 20, what was it? In the not the, I guess it would have been in the 2000 POCD. Maybe it was even in the 2010 POCD. They suggested 3 to 4 acres zoning for the north end of town. And I think we're the ones to suggest this because these are in the watershed. So it's merely a suggestion, and it's in line. I don't know, maybe the Planning Commission already has that suggested. I don't know, but I think it's good if we validate that. And
Can you follow that up with Michelle? Because if it's there, then it's already there. If it's not, but it's been in the 2010, then all we have to do is lift out whatever language is there and maybe supplement it with specifics with these two areas. The Stone Ranch and the other one was Powers Lake?
yeah, Powers Lake, yeah,
Yeah.
the area around there,
Just
yeah.
ask to add some language to what's already in the 2010. Don, you said you read it. Do you remember seeing anything specific?
Where I'm coming from is don't put any acreage on to say, these are simply too valuable to put houses on or to build out. Why are we're allowing somebody to put, Yale has 1,800 acres, so divide that by 3. You know, 3 acres, that's a basket full of houses. That doesn't protect the darn thing any longer. Why don't we simply say, this is too valuable of a resource to build out, period.
Well, I don't think that will go anywhere because
If it doesn't go anywhere, so be it, but 3 acres doesn't go, it may go, but it's sure not going to, in the final analysis, protect a heck of a lot of water.
well, it would protect more than what's being protected at the moment. Right now, it's 1 acre zoning.
On Yale property, 600 houses, along with roads.
Well, it wouldn't be 600. It would be more like 350 when you take out roads, wetlands, setbacks, etc.
Yeah, I know, but
yeah,
it's destroyed when you do that. Why not make that point? Don't destroy it, period.
well, although it's quasi-public, they're still allowed to do what they want. The state of Connecticut can turn around and develop it tomorrow if they want. That is the Stones Ranch property. And Yale University can sell waterfront building lots on Powers Lake if they want, at 1 house to 1 acre. You know,
I was thinking, can't we do both things? That ideally, you could have your ideal situation where they have them not developed at all. But if the scenario ever had them developed, to at least for a minimum do 3 acre plots.
Yeah, I'd like to see the language that's in the 2010 version.
it might be the 2000, but yes.
Begin with. Yeah, see if we can dig out the original wording and add to it. Do we have time to do that and still talk about it at our next meeting?
You're never gonna be able to get them to comment. It's gonna be too late.
Yep.
Oh,
Where you might, there's a couple places you can emphasize it. One is in the chapter on open space, where you can point, like Art is doing, you can point out the value of those undeveloped properties in the chapter on open space. I just opened up residential development and to see if there's anything in there regarding, you know, I don't recall reading much anything about, well,
We can put both those things in there, like you suggested, but what it boils down to, I think the Planning and Zoning Commission, if it ever comes to a development, they're going to be looking for a number.
The number should be 0. I mean, that's what we should be fighting for, not to back into a number. The number is 0. If we believe the drinking water supply can be tainted by putting buildings or developing that land, we should say so. Why give it up?
We can say that, but currently the highest acreage for a building lot is 3 acres in town.
But that's fine. But that is, I'm talking about the Yale property and the York property.
May I point out one thing that's already in the may I point out something that's already in the POCD under the housing chapter and recommendations?
Yeah.
Number 6. No. 5. Consider additional protections in residential development areas near watersheds and aquifer recharge areas to ensure future development has minimal impact to the watershed/aquifer. I mean,
That's my position.
Yeah, and at that point, you could name these 2 areas specifically if you wanted to suggest an additional wording.
I mean, I think they need something specific here. You just can't throw out extremely general, vague. I mean, I read this thing line by line, and I had comments related to what was written and specific sections, lines, paragraphs, whatever. You gotta find out where in this thing you're not happy with something is, and provide them with a very specific response. Either I suggest you change this, or I suggest you add this, I suggest you take this out, whatever. I mean, I can't see throwing out, well, we need 3-acre zoning in the whole northern part of the town. That's not going to fly, I don't think. They're too far down the path here.
Don, that's my
That's my
suggestion, is to take that section that you just read and add specifically the Powers Lake and Stone Ranch area, where it says sensitive, blah, 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 you know.
We've developed 2
Name
reports
them.
over the last.
Page 58. At least on the draft I'm looking on.
We developed 2 reports over the last 10 years, and the essence of them was we've got to stop building out on our watersheds that feed our drinking supply. That's not only town wells, but private wells. We're going in the wrong direction. We have 19,000 people in town. Why are we not sticking with our original thesis, which is you can't keep developing the watersheds upstream of the wells, both private and public?
Yeah, that's true, but I'm telling you, when it comes down to planning and zoning, they're going to want a hard number. 1 acre, 2 acre, 3 acre.
It's not going to be in the POCD because there aren't things like that in there.
Right.
It was before. I know it was.
I don't want to.
We're trying to change the whole planning mentality and not stick to things like 2 acres or 3 acres.
Well, it's just a suggestion. It's really up to the planning and zoning to make the ultimate decision. But that points them in a direction of higher acreage, because right now it's 1 acre.
We should point them in a direction of no acreage for development in those areas. You're talking about the watershed that we drink from. Why are we doing this?
Yeah, I get that.
New York City saying we're going to sell all the land in the Catskills because they can put 1 million houses on it and we need the money. Of course, that's where we get our drinking water from, but we need the money.
I get that.
Well,
And what it's going to come down to is the landowners, that is the state of Connecticut and the Yale University, have the right to sell and develop their land according to current zoning. And that's 1 acre. And that is no good.
The state of Connecticut is now funding open space primarily because it protects drinking water supplies. That's the direction we're going in. After all these years, we're finally moving in that direction.
So what was the letter to the...
I think it's not a good idea to even suggest putting buildings on these 2 important pieces of property.
All right, so what will this note say? It sounds like we're in general agreement with the idea that no houses should be built there or minimal housing should be built there. Is that, I think that's true of everybody here.
Well, I don't think Yale was being pressured to build anything.
No, they're not. But this is, we're looking 10 years down the road.
But it's still Yale. I don't see, with a $40 billion endowment, they're not going to have pressure to build houses.
I want to say again to Mark, I just did a word search of the word acre in this report, and there was only 2 occurrences of the word acre. One talks about a, I don't know if it's affordable housing, or they did talk about, it's like a 15-acre thing there. I'm looking at acres, and I'm 3/4 the way through, and I don't see any, there's no specific things on lot sizes in this thing. I mean, that's something you're going to have to fight through the zoning commission, not in this POCD.
Well, what I'm saying was that was in the 2000 POCD.
Well, it's not in this one.
Right. So what I'm saying is it's been said before, so we're not breaking new ground. We're saying we're reiterating what was saying from the year 2000 POCD. So I think we're all in agreement that 1 acre, are we all in agreement that 1 acre around Powers Lake and on the 4 Mile River watershed is no darn good? 1 acre zoning?
No building is that darn good. Why are we opening us for potential usage? I don't understand that. You're building a watershed to supply clean water, and then we're discussing how many houses we should put on it? That doesn't make sense.
No, that's what it is today, Art. You can build 1 house on 1 acre in those areas right now. That's no good, right? You agree with me?
And the argument I'm placing is we should develop the argument so strongly that it would be crazy for anybody, Yale or the state of Connecticut, to tamper with that watershed.
All right, I agree with that. And if for some reason they give up their right to develop the land, terrific. My feeling is they won't.
Well, that's a guess. It's a feeling, let's put it that way. But our point is, at least my point was, to get it in people's minds that you just can't develop all the land just because you own it.
All right, I get it. But so what we got to, do we want to send something to the POCD committee to tell them that?
Yeah, I would send something that says these watershed lands are vitally important and should not be developed in any way, shape, or form. And I think they understand that now. Because you know why they understand it? Because of the good reports we wrote.
Well, that's good. That's all good, well and good, but they cannot say that this land can never be developed, because a lawyer will flip that in 30 seconds.
Why not? Why can't they say that?
Yeah, it's private land. Well, actually, I don't think the state of Connecticut land ought to be included in this, because the state of Connecticut cannot go and sell off their land at will. They can't. Stone's Ranch, I think, is not up for grabs.
Well, not at the moment, but laws change, and
That's true. That's true. They do. And
we're looking 10 years down the road. So I don't want to belabor this, but it seems to be a simple concept.
All right. Can I make a suggestion? A, we have very limited time to make any major specific changes. B, we've got some words that are already in there that maybe we just need to massage a little bit and say, you know, I can't remember exactly, Don, what you read was, it sounded like the recommendation is that watersheds should not be developed on, or something like that. It was a little generic.
Well, I guess he's still looking.
No, I'm looking.
Because you kind of read that line or two.
Said it was page 58.
58?
Yeah.
Thank you. I couldn't remember. Again, this is page 58.
It was like section 6 or something.
5 or 6.
It is residential development.
Yeah.
Recommendations. Item number 6. Oh, wait a minute. That's number 5, not 6. I'm sorry. Consider additional protections in residential development areas near watersheds and aquifer recharge areas to make sure future development has minimal impact to the watershed/aquifer.
How about if we added a sentence that went like, this is particularly important in, and then say the general areas. That I think would fly. The POCD is not where you spell out what zoning's going to do. It's where it gives the kind of general guidance that zoning then looked back and said, do we meet this? But we don't, that POCD does not set the rules.
Correct. Except in the case of a waiver. When they apply for a waiver in a subdivision, one of the waiver conditions is, does this meet the plan of development? So that's the one. And what I've seen, there's been recently, well, in 2008 anyway, there was one subdivision that had a lot of waivers. And it actually did not meet the then 2000 POCD. And so it was voted against because it did not meet the 2000 POCD. And what the 2000 POCD said is zoning in the 3 to 4 acre zone. Currently 2 acres should be 3 to 4 acre zone. So that's where I got that from. So it actually can come into play with a waiver provision in a subdivision. But I don't want to belabor it. I like what you said, Ron.
So just the suggestion is to add the Powers Lake and Stone Ranch area to the end of that, the sentence number 5, is it?
Yeah,
now?
well, maybe a sentence, a second sentence that says, Powers Lake, Stones Ranch area are particularly important and should be protected because they're in the watershed, or something like that. I don't like that wording myself, but something like that.
Well,
First,
Art said, you know, these are supplies are drinking supply. These water.
first of all, that's not true.
This is where we get our drinking water. It has to be protected at all costs, period.
Stones Ranch isn't.
That's 4 Mile River, which is not part of the
4 Mile
town's water
River, it
supply.
has a potential 500,000 gallons a day of drinking water.
No argument,
Yeah.
but we got to be careful how we word it. That's future, not present.
Right. So say it the way Art said it.
Why don't we just stop we got all our thoughts out. Penny, why don't you and I sit down and try to put some words to this?
Oh, yeah, but the rest of the committee has to be happy with this. I don't want to do it, you know.
No, I think I got my general points out there, and I think I'm okay with what you come up with.
Is everybody else going to be happy if we come up with some wording and submit that?
Just strengthening that area, right?
Yeah, just that page 58, number 5, under residential development, just adding a sentence to the end of that
Yeah,
calls out. I'm a little concerned about including Stones Ranch because the state falls under all different circumstances as private lands. So, but I suppose it's not going to hurt anything to include.
Well, remember a few years ago, there was a proposal, I think, to run Route 11 through Nahannock State Forest, and then up in Essex or Deep River or somewhere up there.
Yeah, they do land swaps.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it can happen.
It
And
can happen.
the other thing I would say is don't name the land specifically, because then that's spot zoning. Name it generally, like what other folks have said here, the 4 Mile River watershed for a future supply, and the Patagonic watershed currently supplying the aquifer.
Yeah, I
So
like
one's
that.
current and one's future.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
But I would not name specific areas because you get into trouble.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, that's it for me. I'm good with whatever you do there.
Okey dokey. We move on? Everybody happy?
Next.
Old business, Waterford Solar Farm Project? Anything new?
We obviously passed the October 8th date that they originally had and this council had for their findings of fact, opinion, decision, and order. So nothing was done. The council has 2 more meetings scheduled coming up, October 22nd and November 5th. I will be checking their website to see if the Waterford Solar will be on their agenda, and that's all I can say. So it appears that the governor's order extending the deadline to at least November 23rd, they're taking advantage of that on this project. I can talk about the next one, B, and I think we should probably take the Patagonia Lake Association activity off the agenda after this, unless I have something to report to you guys.
Okay.
I have been, I've signed up to remotely attend 3 symposia that's put out by, that's being hosted by Western Connecticut State University on lake issues dealing with invasive species and harmful algal blooms. I did one, they're on the last Mondays of the month. I attended one at the end of September, which was pretty good. And there's 2 more to go. And did learn a little bit more about the aquatic invasive species funding that'll be forthcoming from the state of Connecticut from an enhanced boat registration fee that they're dedicating to this. And
To invasive species?
Pardon me?
Dedicating to invasive species?
There's a $5 surcharge on boats registered in Connecticut and a $25 surcharge on boats that are registered in other states that are, I guess, used in Connecticut waters. And this money is all going towards aquatic invasive species, which could be plants, could be things like zebra mussels, etc.
Okay.
So there'll be a request for proposal coming out in the fall, asking people that they want to apply for this money, which will be given to universities, towns, and nonprofit organizations.
Hi.
Okay. Is that it?
Nice to
Yes.
meet you.
Okay. Town trails. Art, do you have anything to add?
It's getting an awful lot of use. I'll repeat again, people just love them. Also brings to our attention that we're having a problem controlling motorcycles on the thing. They're tearing up part of the property.
Is this at Darrow Pond?
Pardon me?
At Darrow? Where are you talking about?
Yeah, Darrow, yeah, on the Goodwin Trail, on the Carlson Trail. And we're going to have to get a little more aggressive. A sign that says, please don't ride a motorcycle here is just not working. I'll tell you what's actually happening. I went out and I examined what was going on. What that wheel does is it displaces rocks from the size of a marble to about 2 inches. And it does it again and again. And those rocks then fall down toward the middle of the trail. So you have about 1.5 feet wide of real gravel, very tough to walk on. And then you have slopes that go up where the bike goes. It's just not compatible. Okay. And I think I'm going to have to, what I was planning to do was sit down and talk with the Parks and Rec people, sit down and talk with the planning people, and work out some way that we can get these things policed. Stronger signs, and we have to have some kind of presence out there.
Or barriers of some kind?
Pardon me?
Barriers of some kind? That makes it
No,
very
that's a challenge. You put up we got to I'm gonna also talk with Gary Nishaka down at this Rocky Neck and see how they control the motorcycles down there. But anyway,
Over
we gotta do something because you can't keep up with the tearing up of the trails. It's that simple.
How about
Over at
speed
Haley-
bumps?
Pardon me?
How about speed bumps? Logs across the trail.
Well,
Slow them down.
yeah, but it slows them down, but that doesn't,
Over at Haley Farm in Groton,
10 miles of trail, you slow them down for 200 yards, it doesn't make any difference.
right, so you put in telephone poles like this, maybe 5 or 8 across, so people can walk through
Yep.
and motorcycles won't be able to fit. That's what they do at Haley Farm over in Groton, and
Yeah.
it works.
No, that's the kind of thing we have to start doing.
Yeah,
This trail is on town property, Yale property, and state property.
yep,
And we got to be concerned about all these, particularly Yale, which is basically a private property. And we don't want them to say, you can't do this anymore. That really hurts. So
Yeah.
what I'm going to do is get together with the Yale people and have some conversations with them also.
well, the telephone idea will work. Telephone pole idea.
We'll explore that. We'll explore all of this, but we've got to get something done on this, because the last 2 Sundays ago there were 12 people out there in a row.
Motorcycles?
Motorcycles, yeah.
Wow.
What's the next?
Okay.
You've got the agenda in front of you.
Yep, the next one is the Sustainable Connecticut Program. Tom, do you want me to talk about it? Or you're muted, but are you still?
Yeah, yes, please do, Penny.
Okay. We're starting slowly because there are certain things that have to still fall in place. To ask for the first Sustainable Connecticut grant for an expansion of the community giving garden to 4 acres behind the Baptist church that's in Flanders on Church Road. Most of the plot, the front of the plot will be developed into quite a large community garden. There's 21 volunteers that have already shown interest. Tom is recruiting more. And they have 5 committees. They're all set to go. They do have to wait until October 25th for final permission from the church council to make sure that everything is good to go. The understanding is that there is no objection. This is just an open field, and the church is happy to have this developed into a community garden. The back part, a third or so, will be developed as a pollinator pathway, which is a program that Sustainable Connecticut is now adding to its new, for towns that will be going through the registration process in 2021. It now is an action plan, which puts it way up front, one of the 10 things that they want towns to do. So this is part of a national organization that's doing pollinator pathways to help out migrating insects, and mostly butterflies, but also pollinators that will help the existing garden right there too. So first of all, it will keep this as open space, and it also will be an educational area for the town, which is very important to the Sustainable Connecticut, because their big thing is getting the town involved, open to the public, education, giving something to underprivileged or disadvantaged people. And it's nice because it's closer to the center of things than the Samuel Smith Garden, although I understand the Samuel Smith Garden will still continue as is, and that is educational in a sense of showing a garden in the setting of the 1700s, so no fancy stuff, whereas this garden will be a little more high-tech. So pending the approval on October 25th, we'll go forward with the crowd funding, which is obligatory of the grant process. Their website, which is called IOBY, which is IOBY, and it means in our backyard. It's supposed to be a play on not in my backyard. They'll set up a crowdfunding mechanism, and that will kick off. They're hoping to get a total of the wish list they're hoping for is $26,000 to zoom this up and get all the equipment enough for all the volunteers to be able to do this. The other thing, my bikeway plan, I am still waiting for the town police to sign off on, or at least comment on in some way. And I'm going to bug the Parks and Rec folks again. I'm just going to be just a pain in the butt about it, because that's all I can do until we get some sign off by the police and the Park and Rec division. We can't do anything with that. And Lauren Harvey, you're also on the committee, so if there's any other project or comment or part that you want to please speak up. I know, Laura, you wanted to be part of the pedestrian part of the bike, and I realized that school is not what it used to be, so the kids can't.
It's not even close to what it used to be.
Yeah, right. They've even taken one step forward and 2 steps back. They're back to
Yeah, we're out till next Thursday.
So
we're remote from, well, I mean, teachers at least this time can get in the building and get to do other stuff, but it's not pretty.
yeah, well, I'd still like to keep the pedestrian part of that as a wish list for the future.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping as things clear up, yeah, and if I can get them trained, but we're barely hanging them on with these kids, right now, so.
Yeah, maybe next spring, this time next year. Well, that's where we're at with the sustainable. I was part of a review for their agenda for 2021, and they are one of the things I cautioned them about, which Mark you'd be interested in, is they wanted to have wording in there where the sustainable people would encourage towns to be much more flexible in their zoning regulations. I'm simplifying, it was a little more laid out than that. And I cautioned them about that, and they're worried about affordable housing and why some zoning prevents affordable housing going where it quote unquote should go. And I told them that sometimes that becomes weaponized. And I used the Oswegatchie Hills as the example. So the person who was taking comments took that to heart. And I said, be careful, because that can come back to really be a real problem. So I'm hoping that they will not go down that route, much as it's well intentioned. I think screwing around with the zoning rules for affordable housing is a dangerous thing to do. So anyway, that's the only comments I have on that for now. I'm hoping that by the next meeting we'll have forward movement on at least the community garden, if not the other project.
Two comments. One, did the POCD include something on sustainability? I would hope.
Yeah. I almost a year ago, I wrote up an entire page of what we wanted to do.
Did it make it into it?
I hope so. I haven't seen the draft, so but there's no reason to believe it didn't. I gave it to
Sustainability Connecticut's in there are numerous places.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
Yeah, I'm probably not the only one that said something, but I know I specifically had a section that I told them what we had done, that the town is now registered. There's something like 89 towns that are registered now out of 169, so it's about halfway.
And then just a comment, when I was watching this thing that they did the review of the POCD on TV
Yeah.
with the selectmen, there was several positive comments about the sustainability project you're working on.
Good.
So they
I wish
know there's some support on the selectmen staff for it. So
wish they'd tell me that.
Well,
I'm in radio blackout here, so I'll try again, see if I can get somewhere.
all right.
Thank you for reporting that. That'll give me reason to bug Mike McDonald again.
If I'd have been thinking, I would have taken some notes.
That's okay. Thank you anyway. Okay. Don, you want to go any further with the RBV sampling? Does it look like
Sure.
it's a possibility?
I've got an email from Megan again at the state today about making sure that everybody follows COVID precautions, going so far as to not even drop off samples or field sheets at deep. Hold them until they tell you what to do. She wanted to know if we were going to do it. So I actually, because based on that rain we had, now we have the Latimer Brook flow gauge back into operation again, so it's quite handy. I saw that even though the rain wasn't a lot, it doubled the flow in terms of cubic feet per second in the brook. So I went behind Tri-Town IGA today to see what the brook looked like, and it looked actually, to back up a step, the flow as it is right now is about the median value over a 5-year period for this date. So we're right in the middle, not too high, not too low, and it looks good to me. And I guess you may not have seen it, Penny. I just sent you an email earlier today.
Yeah, I saw it just
asking
before
if-
I dialed in. Yeah.
If you think you guys
We
would
can
like
do
to
it.
go,
Yeah, we can do it.
we
Sure.
could, if Steve Loomis is interested, the 4 of us,
Well-
maybe, 4 old timers, I'm sure being very careful.
Yeah.
Wear masks,
Mask on. Tom, can you give us any kind of a reading on the Cranberry Meadow site?
Yeah, it's, well, to be honest, I did not look at it today. But
Can you
virtually
just-
no flow as of 2 days ago. But if you'd like, I'll check tomorrow.
Yeah, if you could give us a heads up in the next day or two,
Okay,
whether that's anything we could get a net into.
okay,
Sort of-
all right,
gotta
I'll
have some kind of a ripple flow.
okay.
And then, I don't know, we could go down and see whether the 4 Mile River at Green Valley.
Yeah, I'm fairly close to it. I'll try to do that.
Okay.
I don't think I could do it in maybe tomorrow I can get there. Sure. And you and I can coordinate, Penny, all right?
Yeah, sometime next week, because it's supposed to rain over the weekend again, too.
Yeah.
So a little more rain is not a bad thing.
Yeah, thank.
Yeah, things are pretty dry.
Yeah, next week's pretty good for me except for Wednesday, so yeah, maybe we can do it.
Okay. And the 3 of us can do it, and if Steve can join us, that'd be great. If we
Sure.
don't meet him, but it'd be handy. We'll catch up with him
Okay.
before the weekend.
I'll check with you back with you offline then.
Okay, sure. Okay, then reports and communications. Anybody have communications?
I mean, where is the, that piece of paper that we sent around the 4 subgroup draft report? Where does that?
That's in your chairman's report. I
Okay.
figured you'd
Okay.
get to that. I did want, I guess under communications, Mark, I wanted to get back to you because after the last meeting, I did talk to Roseanne. She tried to dial in and, I don't know, had technical problems or something. And she did follow up about the I-95 spill thing. And she said the most important thing to keep in mind is in her mind, the highway change will never happen. So that ends she feels that the whole project for that rebuilding of the bridge and widening of 95 is dead in the water. And
It probably is, but I also know they've gone out and done their survey. I forget if it was earlier this year or last year, but they've done their survey for it. And should we ever want a spill mitigation system, there's really nothing, unless the selectmen sent a letter, there's no official document that East Lyme wants a spill mitigation system over their aquifer protection area.
yeah,
So she kind of didn't really answer the question that was asked.
if you hang on a second, I'll get my notes. Bear
Right.
with me.
Let me ask everybody, did you get that email address to download the forest subgroup draft report?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
That was interesting reading.
Yeah,
What?
it's, what do you think about it?
It was okay. If I was, I mean, I'm not going to take the time I know they're looking for comments. I thought a lot of it was redundant. There was a lot of repetitiveness in it because I read the whole thing. But I think it's good.
Yeah, I thought that the two charts toward the end of the report that I found interesting on where they think the CO2 is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
What I wish was they were a little clear on were they stacking so that the top line on the amount of CO2 being produced was the total, or is transportation really that much higher and you got to mentally add up everything below it? So
I think the latter.
I wasn't sure. I've seen them do it both ways. So
The part that interested me was the sequestration part of it, which is going to affect the value of land. This is already happening in California from buying carbon credits. And I look at this thing as having a lot of information. I'll bet there are 10 people in town who know the majority of the things I talked about in this report. My idea was, how do we put this together in less than 62 pages to get the highlights out of the importance of, for example, the size of forest trees.
Hey, can we back up a little, because you kind of skipped over things? Can we
Yeah.
put that on hold for a moment?
Because you went out to get some papers.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure I got the notes that Roseanne gave me, and she says that the plan, they put in the plan that there will be quote-unquote spill guards, whatever that means, when and if this ever goes forward, and the entire project is on hold at the moment, and in her mind, will never happen. But the plan, I don't know whether the selectmen asked for it or whether right now the plan has quote-unquote spill guards.
that gets our foot in the door.
Yeah.
I did happen to see Holly Cheeseman and mentioned the issue to her, and she knows about it, and she says there was no further developments. That was about a month or so ago.
Yeah. Everybody's, and this was before COVID, and now with COVID, in fact, the state is, sucking wind financially. So even DOT doesn't have the money, and they're the last ones to run out of money. Anyway, so just to stick to the agenda before we get to Art's issues, the agribusiness subcommittee?
Not a heck of a lot going on. Let's see. There's the Giving Garden issue that you pretty much addressed. Tom and Nancy Kalal got that ball rolling, and we have a fair amount of people involved with it. And it's a separate group than agribusiness, but it was started with the agribusiness crowd. And it looks like they're maybe going to be doing a fundraiser soon with a business group.
Oh, yeah, November 20, I forgot about that part. November 28th, plow a furrow, feed a family.
Yep.
And Nancy's going to bring her oxen down there so people can see her oxen.
It will be more than Nancy's oxen. She's got several people with oxen, and I guess one guy with a team of mules.
Oh.
So what the Giving Garden folks are doing is they're going to get local landscapers to dump the leaf compost that they're hauling off of various lawns. The soil there is pretty well played out. It's not rocky, but it's kind of sandy, so it needs organic matter to it. Needs earthworms in there. And we're going to get a lot of deliveries, we hope, of leaf and leaf compost. And then the Pollinator Pathways people have some seed. They're going to seed that. And Nancy and friends are going to have their oxen and mules plow in and disc in the leaves and the leaf compost that is put there during the month of late October and earlier in November. So that'll be a big thing. That's a Saturday, not sure what time. I think it's about 11 o'clock on the 28th they're going to kick off. And so that's the big thing there. And then other than that, on agribusiness, we're going to try to shoot for an agribusiness viability grant next year, I think. And what we'll be looking to do is maybe get help with the cost of town services. We've talked a ton about this at all our groups. Art always talks about it at the potluck dinner, you know, what the cost of residential housing is versus open space and farms. But if we can get a hard number on it, Colchester actually got a grant to do this. So we'd like that to be the case here in East Lyme. So that's for next year, though, not this year. So I think that's all we got. I guess Tom left. I was going to ask him if there was anything else, but not much going on with agribusiness.
Okay, Art, you're on.
To repeat, this forest subgroup just has a great summary of all kinds of stuff. And I was particularly interested in the carbon sequestration because that has ramifications of making money off of property. I'd like you to read this thing and think about how we could present this, less than 62 pages to the town, so that they're familiar with a lot of the terms, a lot of the things, a lot of the charts, just a lot of the data in here. How do you get it out to the people? That's my point. I'd like to get your ideas for the next meeting.
I didn't get that report. When did it get sent out, or who sent it?
I sent out an email link to read it electronically because it's 62
I got it about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay, I'll check it.
If you can't find it, Mark, I'll send it.
I've got it. If you can call Penny or me.
Okay.
Why not put it in this set of minutes?
Okay.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, okay. I'll see Fran about that then. Well, Fran is listening to this, I presume. Okay. Well, Fran, you can contact me and I'll get you.
I'll send it to Mark right now.
Okay. Okay, good.
The one point that could be made is they talk about vulnerable forest types require focused protection, and the pitch pine scrub oak is one that's listed, and Oswegatchie, we've been working on a pitch pine tree nursery and education thing, which if anybody is interested, they should go down to how the town has changed Memorial Park. The whole road has all been redone and landscaped. Greg Decker has worked tirelessly over the summer through several illnesses on his part too, to make a very nice meeting area. It's all got paving stones. It's been landscaped, or beginning to landscape, and we have a planting bed to start planting seedling pitch pines. So that's one place where the town is already doing one of the things that they suggested. And we will be planting up the small pitch pines into Oswegatchie as they grow. We hope to get the trees planted in no later than the spring. That's the plan anyway.
I guess this was a good summer for it because it was so dry, and the pitch pine likes the dry weather, right?
Yeah, yeah. The adult trees that are up in the preserve probably had a good year because the scrub oak is kind of taken over, and this is one case where the oak don't do as well, and the pitch pine. When things are bad, the pitch pine does well. That was just one thing that the town's already doing and can, take some credit for the long list of things that were suggested.
Call from wireless caller.
Who's got a phone?
Fran.
Penny,
My phone, my husband's here, he'll take it.
that's the last item on the agenda, is it?
Call from wireless caller.
Is an ex officio report is the last one, and Roseanne's not with us, so
Okay,
I assume there's no report from Fran.
so we'll make a motion.
So, speaking of Jean.
Who made the motion?
I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting since we're
Second.
all at the
Oh.
end.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We all have our homework.
All right.
I presume everybody's happy with the Zoom setup to stay this way for
Yeah.
the time being.
I guess that's all.
I want you to put titles instead of your name. I think I'll,
I
Well, I'm here incognito, so that's okay.
I know you're somebody else and so is he. Okay. Please try to read this whole report, this 62 pages. It's quite enlightening.
Okay.
Gives us
We
some-
have to thank Art for he has now conquered the 21st century and actually
Yeah.
all by
Yes,
himself.
I'd like to say maybe
Get to
next
see
week,
him.
maybe next meeting we could have some kind of a comment about I entered the 21st century. I actually
It was a
turned-
long
That should be your
journey.
title. Make that your name.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
actually clicked on mute and that's the video things and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
been a wonderful.
It's a long journey.
Okay.
Art, one
Next meeting, we'll do breakout rooms.
Yeah, right.
comment before we leave. If you're going to talk to Gary
Yeah.
and you're going where I think you're going about us doing something about writing our own version of this report,
Well, that's what I'm asking you to think about.
right, understood.
Yeah.
One of the things we will probably need is a GIS of East Lyme that shows where the different kinds of trees are broken out like the report does.
Yeah. Well, that's what we have to say we need.
Right,
Yeah,
understood. But it's
there's
just
a way to
something-
get that directly from the state, if
Will it
Gary's
be on
not
that small
comfortable with that.
scale?
We have that for the Darrow Pond 300 acres. Okay.
Yeah, and it comes out of there's a
But
state
that was, we needed.
map that we could just lift East Lyme, all of East Lyme out of.
No, I understand, but that's one of the things that we could, because what that does then, it looks once again at what part of the town is good for sequestering carbon.
Well, how much you're going to get out of each part.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's the point, and that's what I want to distill out of this thing. Some things that we could actually do that would be good. Okay.
Okay. All right, we have our homework.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Okay.
See ya.
I'm going to end you. Good to see you, Laura.
Good night.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Harvey, good night.